So one of the biggest and most anticipated RPG games of 2024 is, of course, Metaphor ReFantazio. Now, brought to you by the people who made such games as Persona 3, 4, and 5, there's obviously a lot of hype surrounding this game for fans of those games, but for someone who may not be too familiar with the Persona franchise like myself, I still thought the game looked really cool. I am a fan of the Shin Megami Tensei games, so I was keeping an eye on this game, and obviously a lot of other people were. There were high hopes and high expectations for it. Atlas reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to do a sponsored look at Metaphor ReFantazio, and I said, yes, of course I do. It's a good-looking RPG, and I'm interested to see how this game is kind of different than other RPGs on the marketplace. The game is available now on Xbox, and as you can see by these review scores, well, it's one of the highest rated games of 2024, which says quite a bit about it. So what is Metaphor ReFantazio all about, and what makes the gameplay so unique? Let's talk about it. The game takes place in the United Kingdom of Uchronia, in which the king is assassinated under some, well, let's say shady circumstances. Now, the prince of the region was alleged to be killed years before this, but is that really the case for the heir to the throne? Now, you play as a character which you name from a clan that is known as Elda, which is looked down upon as a lesser group of people who were born with something that is called forbidden magic. Now, your character was also friends with the prince, and he knows that the prince was put under a curse and isn't actually dead, so he sets out to try and lift the curse. Now, while all this is happening, since Uchronia is under peril after the death of the king, in order to find a new heir to the throne, since the prince is allegedly dead, a tournament is held called the Tournament for the Throne in order to find a new king. Now, of course, things aren't exactly how they seem on the surface, and the story does start to touch on various political things, as you can kind of tell from what I've told you so far, manipulation of the townsfolk, and much more. Can you convince Uchronia that you are for them and that you know the truth? That's kind of one of the goals of the game. Now, the biggest highlight to me, though, has to be the gameplay of Metaphor ReFantazio, which feels very familiar, but also like fresh at the same time. So you have a fairy companion with you that, of course, plays into the themes and like the story of the game. They're talking to you about various things, but she also adds a lot to the gameplay as well. You basically use her to scan your surroundings to see the level of enemies that are in your vicinity, and this is actually where things get very interesting with the gameplay. Each enemy will have a color outline around them consisting of either blue, yellow, or red. A blue enemy is an enemy that is weaker than you. A yellow enemy is about the same level or as strong as you, and a red enemy is much stronger than you. Now, with blue enemies, the game actually plays a little bit like an action RPG, meaning you don't really get into a traditional turn-based battle with them, but you can go up and slash them with your weapon and kill them instantly. This is known as the fast battle system in the game and allows you to easily dispose of lower level enemies without having to go the traditional route of turn-based battle, and it really gives the game a little bit of an action feel to it that I actually really enjoyed. It's also based on if enemies can see you as far as hitting them, so there is a little bit of strategy mixed in. Now, for the yellow and red enemies, you could still hit them first to do some damage and potentially stun them, but then you have to press the Y button when it pops up to engage in the other battle type known as squad battle. Now, Squad Battle is more of a traditional turn-based RPG, but with some strategy elements mixed into it as well. You can switch your team's position on the fly between the front of battle and the back of battle, which will actually play a role in not only how you attack, but how enemies will attack you. One thing I noticed in a boss battle in the game is that the boss had a really strong attack that was like pretty much wiping out my enemies, and it seemed to always hit. But once I moved my party to the back of the line instead of the front of the line, the attack would miss completely. So there is a nice layer of strategy implemented into the battling. Of course, there is a downside to being in the back instead of being in the front. That being, physical attacks will do less damage as there's a larger area of space between you and your enemies. It's a fun risk and reward method that allows for unique playstyles. You have your standard physical attacks, of course, you have item usage, and other things that are custom in most RPG games. But Metaphor ReFantazio has another trick up its sleeve, and that is with the archetypes. Now, the archetypes are essentially your combat skills of each member of your party. But unlike most games in the genre that have, like, set classes, thieves, mages, healers, there's a ton of different archetypes that you can learn in the game. The best part is the archetypes are not limited to just one type of character, so you can make your party pretty much tailor-suited to your liking. Do you want to focus on strictly healing while you, the main character, dish out damage? Well, you can give all your characters a healing archetype except for yourself. You want to mix and match? You can do that too. Now, as you use the various archetypes in the game, your archetype level for them will advance, and your character will learn new and advanced moves specifically for that archetype. What's more is you aren't stuck with whatever archetype you initially choose for a character, and you could change them whenever you want, pending you have the in-game currency to do it, and level up another if you want to change up your playstyle. It's honestly a super cool mechanic that I really feel like opens up the gameplay quite a bit, because it feels like there's no restrictions, and you could really play the game however you want to play it, building your custom lineup of allies, and in the same breath, you aren't pigeonholed to use that same type if you don't want to. And since you're always getting more and new moves with the archetype leveling system, it keeps things fresh throughout your gameplay as well. Now, you'll visit various dungeons within the game and really get this combat and action with all sorts of different enemy types. Of course, there's your standard stuff like status effects and stuff like that. But I feel like all of these elements of the gameplay really make it feel unique compared to a lot of other RPGs that are out on the marketplace. Now, the visual style and the audio of the game is actually very well done too. It's not like the most detailed JRPG in the world or anything like that, but I do like the cel-shaded art style that they used, and I think it really works. You get some really cool looking sort of landscapes, and of course the town itself looks really nice with all sorts of different things happening within the town. One thing I kind of like that I feel like maybe not a ton of people will really enjoy as much as I did were the English voice acting characters. Now, you can choose between either English or Japanese voice acting and English or Japanese text in the game, so I feel like a lot of people will want to hear the original Japanese, but I really liked the way that the fairy sounded in the game. Like, it gave the game a little bit of a, I wouldn't say comedic relief, but it made things feel a little bit less serious at times because of how the fairy is represented by the English voice actress. I really liked it. I think it'll be, for some people, they might not like it as much, and you can always change it back. But for me, I thought this was really cool. I had no technical issues playing the game on my PC. It's not the strongest PC in the world or anything like that, but I was able to run the game at optimal frame rates and optimal resolution, which really made my experience very pleasant when I was digging deeper into the gameplay. So yeah, if you're looking for a killer RPG experience that kind of feels familiar but new at the same time, I think this game absolutely nails it. Now, I haven't completed the game or anything like that because it's a pretty long game, but I do look forward to seeing how the story kind of plays out and what other archetypes I end up unlocking as I play throughout the game, because I don't know, it's just a really sort of unique game, and I think it's a really fun experience if you're an RPG fan. I have a link for it in the description box down below should you want some further information on the game or want to purchase it. Also, if you're still on the fence about Metaphor ReFantazio, there is a free demo available in which all of the data will transfer over to the full version of the game, so there's really no excuse to not want to check out this game, at least from the demo perspective. So make sure you guys check that out. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Metaphor. That's kind of what makes this game unique, and I think a lot of RPG fans are really going to enjoy this game. Is this a game you have on your radar, though? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. Huge thank you to Atlas for sponsoring this video as well. You guys are awesome. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.